Chapter 771. Ethan took one look at his angry employer and retreated carefully. Benjamin turned over his shoulder and shot him a glare. Inform the managers from all departments to attend a meeting. Got it. Ethan sighed inwardly. A disaster is incoming. Orissa had to attend the meeting, too. She packed up her stuff and went to the conference room. Everyone hadn't seen her for some time, so they were surprised to see her at the meeting. After their initial shock, they greeted her warmly. Miss York, you're back from your vacation. Yes. Hello, Mr. Felch, Mr. Rock, Orissa greeted her colleagues cheerfully. That was what Benjamin saw when he strode into the conference room. At the sight of Orissa exchanging pleasantries with the managers from various departments, he scowled in displeasure. Mr. Graham, everyone greeted him. Noticing his glare, Orissa flashed a pleasant smile and greeted him along with everyone. Mr. Graham. You look relaxed, huh? Benjamin scoffed. Everyone exchanged looks after sensing Benjamin's displeasure. Once Benjamin took his seat, Ethan gestured for the rest to sit down, too. All departments, report your work progress to me. Benjamin ordered curtly. Everyone felt a chill go down their spines. As no one dared to speak, Ethan had to volunteer to be the first one. As expected, Benjamin reprimanded him harshly. Did you complete the task I assigned to you? Benjamin demanded. Mr. Graham, I shall relay your orders right now. Ethan replied hastily. I just received his order a while ago. After arriving at the company, he wanted to hold this meeting. There was no time for me to carry out his order. Benjamin's voice was icy as he announced, I'll be deducting a month's bonus for that. Despite his reluctance, Ethan had no choice but to accept it. Benjamin swept his gaze around the silent room. Do you all want to have your bonuses deducted? It was unavoidable to get yelled at, so Orissa glanced at the rest and responded, I'll go first. Everyone's gazes landed on her, and they heaved a sigh of relief inwardly. Someone had volunteered to go first, and they wanted to delay their turn as long as possible. Benjamin shot her a sidelong glance. Orissa reported, I wasn't at the company recently, but no one in my department slacked off. No security breaches happened. The research and development proposal is ready. I've sent it to your office, Mr. Graham. After getting your approval, my department can start on it. I'll catch up quickly on the other tasks that are behind schedule. Benjamin snorted. When did you hand it to my office? Orissa gave him a look and responded, Yesterday noon, Mr. Graham. Benjamin's Adam's apple bobbed slightly. He had just arrived at the company today and didn't notice the proposal on his desk. When will you catch up on the work that is behind schedule? Today. Will that do? Orissa directed a level stare at him. Benjamin raised his brow. Miss York, are you sure? As he was practically breathing down her neck, Orissa felt anger rising within her. If I can't complete everything by today, I shall give up on my bonus. If I'm not mistaken, your bonus is already gone, Benjamin sneered. Orissa parted her lips and retorted, You don't have to pay me my salary. Will that do? It was her fault for not coming to work and delaying the work progress. Ethan glanced at them both anxiously. If he presses on, Miss York might resign on the spot. Benjamin harumphed in response. Remember what you said. Orissa wanted to yell at him that she wouldn't forget anything she said, but they were in the conference room. Thus, she had to swallow her retort. Benjamin gestured for the other departments to report their progress and then proceeded to yell at the managers. Compared to them, Orissa had it easy. Ethan saw their suffering, but he couldn't do a thing to save them. The only way out is if Mrs. Graham is willing to placate Mr. Graham. He wrote a note discreetly and handed it to Orissa. Mrs. Graham, you should pacify Mr. Graham. Otherwise, everyone can't work in peace this morning. He also drew a crying emoji at the end of his note. After Orissa read the note, the corners of her lips twitched. Pacify him. How do I do that? She scribbled a reply. I don't know how to do that. Ethan nearly burst into tears. Chapter 772. Ethan offered a suggestion. Why don't you pretend to have a stomachache? Orissa was dumbfounded. If Benjamin discovers I'm lying, I'll be doomed. Besides, what use is it to pretend to be ill? Benjamin's wintry gaze swept over and landed on them both. Why are you exchanging notes in the conference room? Ethan started sweating bullets. Orissa didn't expect that Benjamin's gaze was sharp enough to catch them exchanging notes during the meeting. An awkward silence ensued as everyone stared at them. Give it to me. Benjamin narrowed his eyes in an imposing manner. Ethan could scarcely restrain himself from beating his brains out. Mr. Graham caught us in the act. He will definitely punish me. He shot Orissa an imploring look. Seeing how scared Ethan was, Orissa turned to look at Benjamin. It was our fault for not focusing on the meeting. Punish me if you want to. I was the one who gave Mr. Frank the note. The note was still with her. Benjamin's expression turned dark. Where did you learn how to take the rap for someone else's mistake? Ethan hastily explained, Mr. Graham, this has nothing to do with Miss York. I was the one who started the conversation. Benjamin's face was as black as a kettle when he saw them defending each other. Everyone else dared not utter a word. What did you talk about? Share it with us. Benjamin asked as an icy sneer flitted across his lips. I shouldn't have talked to Miss York. It was my fault she got blame. Ethan groaned in despair. Orissa glanced at Benjamin. You should read it yourself. If I say it out loud, what would everyone think of us? Say it out loud, Benjamin barked. Orissa swallowed her anger and forced herself to say, Mr. Frank is afraid that everyone can't work in peace since you're angry. He wants me to figure out a way to turn your mood around. She couldn't bring herself to say the word, pacify, in front of a crowd as it was too embarrassing. The entire conference room fell into a dead silence. It was so silent that even a pin drop would be deafening. The manager's gazes darted between Orissa and Benjamin. So Mr. Graham is in a foul mood because of Miss York. Orissa lowered her gaze and stared at the paper in front of her silently. Everyone, out, Benjamin roared. The other managers immediately packed up their stuff and fled the conference room. They were afraid of being lectured by Benjamin if they were too slow. You two, scram. Benjamin pinned Ethan with a withering look. Got it. Ethan grabbed his notebook and dashed out of the conference room. Seeing that everyone else had left, Orissa began packing up her stuff to leave. Did I say you can leave? Benjamin glowered at her. Orissa halted in her tracks before returning to her seat. She shot the furious man a baffled look and pursed her lips. Mr. Graham, what can I do for you? The sight of her icy, calm expression caused Benjamin's fury to spring to life yet again. Orissa York, he growled in a low voice. Shocked, Orissa looked up to meet his menacing gaze. She straightened her back and wondered if she had incurred his wrath. Mr. Graham, please speak your mind. I don't want to lag behind at work and get punished by you later. Orissa, why are you upset with me? Benjamin managed between gritted teeth. I'm not upset at you, came Orissa's answer. You're not. Benjamin got up and held her chin. Tamping down his anger, he demanded, then why are you talking to me this way? Benjamin gave her a long, level look. His eyes were bloodshot, as he didn't get to rest the last 2 days. Orissa refused to look at him. How should I talk to you, then? Her voice was cold. Good. Benjamin released his grip on her and sent a chair flying with a forceful kick. Ethan was still around, so he hurried in after hearing the commotion. He heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Orissa in her seat as Benjamin vented his anger. Luckily Miss York is fine. No, wait, I should be concerned about Mr. Graham. Calm down, Mr. Graham. Benjamin cast him a furious look. Scram. Ethan glanced at them. Whatever it is, just talk it out nicely. Having said that, he exited the conference room and left them alone. Why is it becoming worse? Chapter 773. Orissa's heart was still pounding in shock. An ominous black thundercloud of temper settled over Benjamin when he saw her frightened expression. Get out. Orissa's heart skipped a beat. She quickly gathered her stuff and left the conference room. Rage seared through Benjamin as he proceeded to kick several other chairs. A look flashed across Orissa's eyes as she turned over her shoulder. Gazing into the man's furious gaze, she forced herself to say, "Stop kicking the chairs. You don't want to hurt yourself, do you?" Benjamin furrowed his brows as he realized his toes in his leather shoes were throbbing painfully. Damn it, His chest heaved with anger. A while later, he marched out of the conference room wearing an ugly scowl. Damn it, she can affect my mood easily. Mr. Graham, are you all right? Ethan came to him hastily to show his employer some concern. He was envious that everyone else could escape to their offices, yet he still had to face his employer's wrath. Mr. Graham is in a foul mood. If I don't show my concern, he'll vent his anger on me later. Benjamin gave him a frosty look. What did you two talk about? Tell me every word. Ethan flashed a wry smile and followed Benjamin to the office on the top floor by taking the elevator. Without missing a word, he revealed their entire conversation to Benjamin. After he finished, he noticed Benjamin's expression turning a shade darker. Ethan couldn't help but pray that someone would come and rescue him from hell. Alas, it was purely his wishful thinking. Ethan had no choice but to continue enduring the suffering. Benjamin's chest was still heaving as rage pulsed through his veins. Ha, she didn't even want to pacify me. Why did her attitude change suddenly? Benjamin recalled that she had been acting this way since this morning. He then connected it to the events that had happened 2 nights ago and froze instantly. Did she hear the phone conversation? His brows snapped together. Ethan peeked at his furious employer and asked softly, Mr. Graham, what happened between you and Miss York? Benjamin shot him a glare, and he flashed a sheepish grin. Mr. Graham, if you want this stalemate to end, you'll have to figure out the reason, Ethan reminded him. Ethan had been working under Benjamin for a long time. The only person capable of affecting Benjamin's feelings was none other than Orissa. He refused to believe that Benjamin didn't care about Orissa. In a low voice, he revealed, Mr. Graham, Edwin told me Miss York has been in a bad mood since yesterday. Benjamin's eyes narrowed a fraction. Why? As he didn't seem angry anymore, Ethan ventured a bold guess. Could it be related to your sudden business trip? Perhaps Miss York read about the news regarding you and Miss Rosetta Adams and misunderstood things. It made the trending topics. Those who have a phone would have definitely seen it. Benjamin's frown deepened. Was that the reason? When I took Rosetta's call 2 nights ago, she went out and even locked the kid's room from the inside. Obviously, she didn't want me to come in, and she started keeping a distance from me ever since. His eyes lit up as the anger in his heart faded away. Mr. Graham, you need to sweet-talk women. The more you argue with her, the more distant she will get, Ethan advised. He dared not ask if Benjamin had romantic feelings for Rosetta and could only offer a piece of his advice. Hearing that, Benjamin glowered at him. Your year-end bonus is gone for this year. Ethan felt as if his entire world had collapsed. My bonus, all gone. He cried pitifully, Mr. Graham, I was showing my concern for you. Why did you suggest that lousy idea to her? Benjamin snapped. She refused to do so, did she not? She didn't give in at all. Ethan dared not refute him. Got it. Feeling annoyed, Benjamin gave him a dismissive wave. Get out. Back in her office, Orissa was distracted. She forced herself to focus on her work, but Benjamin's furious face kept popping up in her mind. Grabbing the cushion, she hit it several times before managing to calm down. That bastard. Why did he get mad at me? Orissa clenched her jaw and cursed Benjamin inwardly. A while later, she was calm enough to get back to work. Chapter 774. I need to earn money to raise the kids. If I don't complete my work, I'll lose my salary and would have worked for him in vain. The thought made Orissa extremely furious. Why would I work for him without receiving anything in return? Adrenaline coursed through Orissa's veins as she threw herself into work. At noon, her colleagues informed her that it was time for lunch, but she merely grunted in acknowledgement and went back to work. It wasn't until her phone rang that she stopped working. Hello, Miss York, come upstairs for lunch. No, thanks. I need to catch up with work, Orissa told Ethan. She then returned to her work. Upstairs, Ethan turned to Benjamin and reported, Miss York needs to work and doesn't have time to have lunch. Benjamin snorted. Who told you to ask her to lunch? Ethan was surprised to get snubbed. Didn't Mr. Graham acquiesce to it? He didn't say anything when I made the call. Now, he's blaming me for calling Miss York. Benjamin's expression was grim as he ate his lunch. A few bites later, he stopped and said, "Clear these away." "Mr. Graham, you only had a few bites," Ethan reminded him. Benjamin's irritation crackled. "I said, clear these away." Ethan let out a soft sigh. He walked over and was about to do as told when Kingsley showed up. "Benjamin, taught the parents a lesson on your behalf." "Oh, did you prepare a spread because you knew I was coming?" Delighted, Kingsley took a seat and grabbed a fork to eat. Ethan couldn't help but admire him for his courage. Benjamin shot him a look. "Did you clear all traces?" Kingsley gobbled down the food in his mouth and nodded. "Yeah." Benjamin's brows scrunched up when he noticed Kingsley taking one bite of each dish. The observant Ethan immediately grabbed one dish which Kingsley hadn't touched. Kingsley glanced at him. "Ethan, how could you take the lamb chop away from me?" "Put it down. Miss York hasn't had lunch yet," Ethan informed him in a soft voice. Taken aback, Kingsley whirled around to look at Benjamin. The latter was glancing at his phone with his legs crossed. There was no telling what was going on in his mind. For no reason, Kingsley felt a chill go down his spine. "Oh, so Arissa hasn't eaten yet. Ethan, what are you doing? Hurry, ask her to come upstairs for lunch." Kingsley berated him. Ethan was torn between laughing and crying. "I did, but she refused to come up. She's busy with her work." He didn't forget to give Kingsley a pointed look. Kingsley glanced at Benjamin. "Benjamin, why didn't you ask Arissa to come upstairs for lunch?" "She can starve if she likes. That has nothing to do with me," came Benjamin's icy answer. Kingsley blinked in bewilderment. "Benjamin, did you get into a fight with Arissa?" Benjamin's expression turned stony. Kingsley gaped in disbelief. "You really had a fight with her, huh?" He turned to Ethan and asked, "Why did he fight with Arissa?" Ethan dared not gossip about Benjamin in front of him and could only offer an embarrassed smile. Shaking his head, Kingsley ordered, "Ethan, pack these up. I'll deliver them to Arissa." Sure, that was actually Ethan's plan, but he had to delay his plan as Kingsley had shown up without warning. Thus, Kingsley and Ethan left to deliver lunch to Arissa. Benjamin glanced at them briefly before returning to his phone. It so happened that all employees in the IT department had gone out for lunch, so there was no one around. Kingsley knocked on the door to Arissa's office. "Come in." Kingsley opened the door and stuck his head in. Flashing a grin, he greeted, "Arissa." Arissa was surprised to see him here. "Mr. Watts, why are you here? I heard you haven't had lunch yet, so we brought it down for you." "I haven't had lunch yet too. Let's eat together." Kingsley gestured for Ethan to bring the food in and arrange them on Arissa's coffee table without waiting for her permission. "Come, let's eat. You can't work while you're starving, right? You need to fill your tummy to gain energy to work." Chapter 775. Arissa smiled and finally decided to have a short break. She rose to her feet and approached them. "Thank you, guys. Why are you thanking us? You should thank Benjamin instead." Kingsley teased her and threw a glance at Ethan. "Ethan, am I right?" Casting a look at Arissa, Ethan nodded and said, "Yeah. Miss York, Mr. Graham barely had anything after knowing you were not going up for lunch." Arissa was stunned. He barely had anything. Maybe he's not hungry. Oh, forget about him. It's no big deal even if he skips a meal. Let's dig in. Kingsley handed Arissa a fork. Arissa took it from him. Then he scooped some salad for her. "Enjoy." Arissa could not help feeling embarrassed. "Mr. Watts, I'll help myself." "You should eat too. Mr. Frank, come and join us." "Sure." Ethan sat down jubilantly and joined them at the table. Seeing them bury their heads in their food, Arissa followed suit. It was indeed a harmonious sight when the threesome sat around the coffee table, having their meal. Meanwhile, Benjamin, seated in his office, would turn to look in the direction of the door from time to time. Kingsley is not really eating together with Arissa now, is he? Seconds later, he stood up and sat behind his desk again. He took a document but was not in the mood to flip through it. He tapped on the keyboard, and soon, the harmonious scene of the threesome having their meal in Arissa's office was shown on the computer screen. At the sight of Kingsley and Ethan chatting and laughing with Arissa, Benjamin turned off the surveillance system right away in exasperation. Next, He pressed the button for the internal line, thinking of instructing Orissa to come up. However, he dismissed the idea the next second and called Ethan instead. Ethan's heart skipped a beat when he saw that it was Benjamin who had called him. "Look at you. You look so scared," Kingsley teased. Ethan smiled bitterly. "Mr. Watts, since you're not afraid of Mr. Graham, why don't you answer the call, then?" "Well, my phone's not the one ringing," Kingsley pursed his lips. Orissa looked at them. Ethan quickly answered his phone. "Mr. Graham." "Pass the phone to Kingsley." Benjamin's intimidating voice sounded from the other end of the line. Chuckling inwardly, Ethan handed his phone to Kingsley. "Mr. Watts, Mr. Graham wants to talk to you." Kingsley shot daggers at Ethan and took the phone from him. "Benjamin, do you need me for something?" The man on the other end of the line thundered, "Get your ass up here." Kingsley smiled sheepishly, "But I haven't finished my meal." "You have 1 minute. Ah, that's a warning." Touching the tip of his nose, Kingsley looked at Orissa with a smile. "Orissa, I'll buy you a meal next time. I have to go up now." With that, he rushed out of her office. "Miss York, enjoy your meal. I have to get going too. I'll be back later to clean up." Ethan quickly made himself scarce as well. Silence ensued in the whole office. Looking at the dishes on the coffee table, Orissa could only continue eating alone. Since Kingsley and Ethan did not eat much, she had a bloated stomach after finishing all the dishes. After clearing everything away, she went back to work. Benjamin was looking through a document when Kingsley and Ethan stepped into his office. With a smirk, Kingsley sat right in front of him and knocked on the desk. "Quit pretending. Why did you ask us to come up?" Benjamin lifted his head and shot him a glare. "Kingsley Watts, you must be very free now, huh?" Kingsley quirked his brows. "Of course not. Ain't I working for you here? My goodness, I don't even have time to enjoy my lunch." Benjamin snorted. "This is not a cafeteria. It's okay, you can leave now." Kingsley's lips twitched. So his motive for asking me up was to chase me away. He bent forward and fixed his eyes on Benjamin. "Let me guess. Are you jealous because you saw us accompanying Orissa to have lunch in her office?" Benjamin narrowed his eyes at Kingsley. Kingsley chuckled. "Dare you say that you didn't look at the surveillance footage just now?" "Get lost." Benjamin demanded him to leave. Chapter 776. Seeing that Benjamin had turned crimson with fury, Kingsley teased, "Benjamin, you're quick-tempered as ever. If you don't control yourself, it'll be too late for you when you scare Orissa away." "Ethan," Benjamin called out. Ethan entered the office hastily. "Mr. Graham, throw him out now." Benjamin fumed. Even though Ethan could not help feeling pity for Kingsley, he had no choice but to step forward respectfully. "Mr. Watts, this way, please." "HMPH. How could you repay my kindness by tossing me aside?" "Fine, don't you ever ask for my help again." Kingsley felt dejected. In an instant, Benjamin shot him a piercing look. Lowering his voice, Ethan reminded Kingsley, "Mr. Watts, I was the one who sought your help. It has nothing to do with Mr. Graham. PFF'd. You're just obeying his orders." Kingsley rolled his eyes at Ethan, then turned to Benjamin. "Benjamin, heed my advice and talk things out with Orissa. Women are not ones to be trifled with. If you drag it out for another day, it won't be easy for you to appease her." "Mr. Watts, please," Ethan urged Kingsley. He would have to go hard on Kingsley if Kingsley still refused to step out. "Get your hands off me. I'll go out myself." Kingsley shrugged Ethan's hand off and advanced toward the door. Just as he was about to step out, he turned around again as something came to him. "Are you attending the wedding ceremony tomorrow?" There was a flicker of inexplicit emotion in Benjamin's eyes, but he did not utter any words. Kingsley looked at him. "Let me know if you are planning to go. We can go together. But if you don't feel like going, I'll bring a gift over on your behalf." "That won't be necessary," Benjamin rejected coldly. Kingsley was flabbergasted. What does he mean? He was about to ask something when Benjamin glowered at him. "Why are you still here?" Kingsley pursed his lips and grumbled, "You bastard. Don't ever ask me to come here again. I'm going to look for Orissa." Benjamin's face clouded over. He instructed Ethan, "Don't ever let him step into our building again." "Yes, Mr. Graham. Ethan could only relay his message to the security department. Kingsley almost burst a blood vessel, but he broke into a mischievous smile the next second. Ethan, I'm sure as hell that Benjamin is green with envy now. Did you see that? He flipped out at once when I said I'm going to look for Orissa. Ha ha. Ethan took in his playful look and reminded him warily, Mr. Watts, you'd better not get on Mr. Graham's nerves. Otherwise, you might not have the chance to meet the kids again. PFF'd. Does he think he can easily scare me off? If he doesn't allow me to meet them, I can always look for Orissa instead. Kingsley snorted arrogantly. Ethan shook his head as he sent Kingsley down. In actuality, he had to ensure the latter had stepped out of the building as instructed. Upon leaving, Kingsley asked Ethan again, did Benjamin get in touch with that woman over the past 2 days? No, Ethan looked at Kingsley. At least, I'm convinced he didn't when I was with him. Kingsley nodded and patted Ethan's shoulder. Keep an eye on him. Don't let the others take advantage of him. I know. Ethan only retracted his gaze and went back to Benjamin's office after Kingsley's retreating figure was out of sight. How are things going at the school? Benjamin was very concerned about it. He vowed not to let those few kids' parents off for picking on his children. There's a positive twist for us after Mr. Watts suppressed the chaos online. I've also warned all the schools in Delmore not to accept those few kids. As for their parents, our lawyer has filed a lawsuit against them. At the same time, their companies have sacked them, and I bet no other companies will hire them again. One of them has a company, but their partner terminated their contract and switched to collaborate with us instead, Ethan said. Ha, they are only digging their own graves for picking on Mr. Graham's children. Benjamin nodded. Okay, assign more bodyguards to protect Gavin and the others discreetly. Yes, Mr. Graham. Ethan nodded in acknowledgement and left after Benjamin gestured to him to leave. Benjamin took a few glances at the documents from the IT department. With a glint in his eyes, he pressed the button of the internal line to call Orissa up. Come up to my office now. He hung up right after giving the instruction. Orissa furrowed her brows. Why did he ask me to go up? Is it about work or other matters? Regardless, I'm in no position to go against his will. After regaining her composure, she went up with a pile of documents. Chapter 777. Outside Benjamin's office, it took Orissa quite a while before she mustered up her courage to call out, Mr. Graham. Come in. Benjamin did not even look up from the document. Orissa scanned around before walking over. She stood in front of Benjamin's desk for quite a few minutes, but the latter still did not say anything to her. Thus, she placed the piles of documents on his desk and started, Mr. Graham, I've completed these. As for the remaining parts, I'll work overtime tonight to finish them. Benjamin finally lifted his head from the document. He looked at her grimly and asked, Orissa York, are you doing this on purpose? Orissa was dumbfounded. Me, doing this on purpose? Isn't this the work progress that he asked for? Of course, I have to multiply my efforts to finish the work that has dragged on for a few days. Benjamin snapped, do you intend to work overtime so the kids will put the blame on me? Orissa pursed her lips. I'll bring the documents back and finish my work at home. They won't know about it. Benjamin gritted his teeth at her eloquence. You don't have to work overtime. Just do it tomorrow. And if you can't finish it tomorrow, there's always the following day. Just reserve your time to accompany the kids. The next moment, he cast his head down to look at the document again. Astounded, Orissa asked, didn't you urge me to finish my work earlier? Benjamin looked up and scowled at her. Don't make me say that again. Looking into the sternness in his eyes, Orissa nodded in bafflement. Yes, Mr. Graham. Knowing that she did not need to rush her work, she heaved a sigh of relief. Mr. Graham, if there's nothing else, I'll get back to work now. Never had Benjamin expected work could be so irritating for him one day. When Orissa mentioned work numerous times, he felt a rush of indecipherable rage surging from within him. Take a look at your mistake. He tossed her document aside. Orissa looked at him before picking up her document and browsing through it. After flipping through the document of almost 20 pages, she did not spot any so-called mistakes circled by Benjamin. Perplexed, she looked at him again. However, he remained seated with his eyes glued to the document. She had no choice but to recheck every page. Benjamin flashed her a glance before looking at his document again. After going through the document twice, Orissa still did not spot any problems. "Mr. Graham, there's nothing wrong with my document. Would you mind enlightening me?" Benjamin looked up at her quizzically. "Nothing wrong. Yeah, I've gone through it a few times." Orissa fixed her eyes on him. Benjamin remained expressionless. "I might have remembered wrongly. Try checking through the other documents again. I'm sure there's something wrong with one of the documents." Seeing that the man was serious, Orissa could only continue to go through the other documents. Soon, 1 hour had passed, but she had yet to spot the problem. "Mr. Graham, I've checked through all the documents and there really isn't any problem." Sensing that the man was not astounded at all, Orissa knitted her brows. "Did he ask me to do this on purpose? Just put the documents aside if there aren't any problems. I'll go through them when I'm free later." Benjamin gestured to her. "Okay, I'll go back to my office, then." Orissa put the documents down and turned to step out. He must have done that on purpose. Right that instant, Benjamin shot the irritated Orissa a glance. "Get yourself ready. We'll go to fetch the kids from school in a while." Orissa was livid. "I've wasted 1 hour because of him. I could have finished more work within that hour." Back in her office, she quickly tidied up her desk and brought her remaining work home. Seeing that school would be over soon. The man's temper is unpredictable. Who knows, he might change his mind again at any moment. By the time she went downstairs after tidying her things, Benjamin was already waiting in his car. She glanced at it and walked in another direction, not expecting Benjamin to be waiting for her. Unexpectedly, a bodyguard stepped forward hastily and stood in her way. "Mrs. Graham, please get in the car. Mr. Graham has been waiting for you for quite a while now." Orissa was stunned. "He's waiting for me." At that moment, the car window was rolled down, and Benjamin's voice sounded. "Get in." Orissa turned to look at the man in the car, only to find him leaning against the seat with his eyes closed. After much hesitation, she got in. Chapter 778. The bodyguard only closed the door after ensuring that Orissa was well seated in the car. He then got into the driver's seat and sped off to the school. Orissa threw a look at the man before turning to look out the car window. All of a sudden, he pulled her toward him. "Ah!" Orissa gasped in astonishment. After stealing a look at the bodyguard in the driver's seat, she turned to glare at Benjamin. "What are you?" She trailed off when she noticed the utter weariness on his face. "Let me sleep for a while." Benjamin wrapped his arms around her tightly, resting his chin on her shoulder. Orissa blushed crimson in an instant. She could feel a tingling sensation as his breath brushed against her ear. Any slight movement from her would trigger him to tighten his embrace. Seconds later, Orissa heard his steady breathing. Utterly speechless, she blinked. Is he treating me as his pillow? She turned slightly to glance at Benjamin. The man's usual vibe of indifference seemed to be prevailed by a sense of gentleness when he was asleep. His long and curly eyelashes looked incredibly beautiful. Before retracting her gaze, she could not resist taking a peep at the man's stunning good looks again. "Mrs. Graham, Mr. Graham hasn't slept for almost 2 days, the bodyguard whispered. Orissa was startled. 2 days. I'll just let him sleep a while more for the sake of the kids. After a while, Orissa took the blanket and covered Benjamin's body with it. The man was suddenly alerted and opened his eyes. Seeing that, she froze in embarrassment. However, he closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep again the next second. Orissa held her breath. Is he awake or is he still in his dream? Listening to the man's steady breathing, she was gradually at ease again. Along the way to school, Orissa did not wake Benjamin up. Nonetheless, she could not help racking her brain about how to break herself free from his embrace to get out of the car upon reaching the school. Whenever she moved, he would tighten his arms around her. It went on a few times that she almost thought he had woken up. "Benjamin, let me go. I need to get out and get the kids," she said softly, but there was no response from the man who was deep in slumber. Heaving a sigh, she moved his hands aside carefully and stuffed a pillow into his arms. She could not resist feeling amused when she saw him continue to sleep soundly with his arms around the pillow. Shortly after, Orissa got out of the car to fetch the kids. The moment they saw her getting out of Benjamin's car, they craned their necks in the direction of the car. "Mommy, did Daddy come together with you?" Gavin asked excitedly. "Yeah." Orissa pinched his cheek lightly. "But he's asleep. Remember not to wake him up when you guys get into the car later, okay?" The 6 kids nodded in unison. "Okay, Mommy. Come, let's go." She led them to say goodbye to their teacher before heading toward the car. The kids were thoughtful. Seeing that Benjamin was asleep, they avoided talking loudly. In fact, some of them did not even open their mouths, fearing that they would wake him up. They were seated obediently as they looked in Benjamin's direction. With a smile, Orissa hopped into the car, closed the door, and put their bags aside. The kids stared at her with a hint of curiosity in their crystal-clear eyes. Arching her brows, Orissa asked in a low voice, "What do you want to say?" Zachary broke the silence by whispering, "Mommy, why did you come together with Mr. Graham?" Orissa pinched his nose lightly. "He's your daddy. Is it weird that we came to fetch you guys together? But didn't you and Daddy have a falling out?" Gavin asked softly. Oliver, Tim, and Jasper gazed at her, eager to know the answer. Jessie also stared at her. Without blinking, Orissa was amazed. The kids are really observant. She lowered her voice as she said, "We didn't have a falling out, but we seldom communicate with each other lately as we have been busy at work." Zachary looked at her doubtfully, but he did not ask any further questions since Benjamin was asleep. Chapter 779. Orissa hugged her 6 children and stroked their heads fondly. The children smiled happily, delighted at her show of motherly love. No one said a word, yet it was still a heartwarming and cozy scene. Benjamin woke up when they were almost at the hospital. He arched a brow when he saw Orissa and the children hugging each other. Jessie noticed he was awake and exclaimed, "Mr. Graham's up." She stared at him with her adorable, large eyes, and Benjamin mussed her head fondly as he straightened himself in his seat. The blanket over his knees slipped off. Instead of picking it up, he turned to look at Orissa, who was still preoccupied with entertaining the kids. A concerned Jasper piped up, "You can sleep a bit longer if you're tired, Mr. Graham. We promise we'll be quiet. It's fine. I already had a good rest." After reassuring his son, Benjamin lifted his wrist and checked his watch. He had slept for almost half an hour. It was the best rest he had gotten in the past 2 days. "Were we too noisy? Did we wake you up?" Orissa asked when she noticed Benjamin's furrowed brows. "No," Benjamin returned her stare. "Why didn't you wake me up when we picked the children up at school?" Orissa's eyes lit up with humor as she explained, "You were sleeping so soundly that I couldn't bear to wake you up, so I fetched the kids myself. They were so happy when they knew you came along." Zachary and the others looked away in embarrassment. Benjamin looked at the 6 children crowding Orissa's lap and patted the seat beside him. "Come on, sit over here. Don't crowd your mommy." To his dismay, the children glanced at him before hugging Orissa even tighter. Orissa was delighted. Benjamin side-eyed her before massaging his temples to feel more refreshed. Concerned, Orissa suggested, "Why don't you sleep a little longer if you're tired?" "It's fine," Benjamin replied curtly before picking up his tablet to work again. Orissa stared at him wordlessly. Gavin observed their exchange attentively and said to Benjamin, "Daddy, why are you so disobedient? Listen to Mommy. If she asks you to rest, rest." What a worrisome fellow. Benjamin froze and glanced at his son while Orissa hastily looked elsewhere. A second later, he stroked Gavin's hair and said, "Don't worry about me. The sooner I get this done, the sooner I can sleep at night." Gavin merely huffed pettily in response. "I'm not worried about you." His behavior brought a smirk to Benjamin's face. Realizing the other kids were staring at him, Benjamin asked gently, "Is anyone still bullying you at school?" Thankfully, they shook their heads in unison. "Not anymore," replied Oliver. When the boy saw that Benjamin's eyes were bloodshot, he asked, "Mr. Graham, do you want to get your eyes checked?" Benjamin was touched by his concern. He reassured, "It's okay. I'm just lacking sleep." "Then you need to rest more." Jasper insisted with a pout. Tim chimed in worriedly, you should sleep more, Mr. Graham. Don't tire yourself out, or you'll fall sick. Nodding, Benjamin promised, okay. I'll take your advice. He set aside his tablet and pulled Tim, Jasper, and Oliver into his arms. Are you coping well in school? The three boys stared at him and nodded. Yup. Are you keeping up, Tim? Despite meeting the school beforehand, Benjamin remained worried that Tim would struggle to keep up during his first time in school. Tim nodded and said, I'm keeping up. The teacher always makes sure to teach me anything I don't know. Plus, we're there, Mr. Graham. We're teaching Tim too, Jasper offered with a smile. That's great. Relieved, Benjamin nodded in approval. I'll teach you some stuff later tonight too. The children were excited. Jessie boasted happily, yesterday, Mommy helped us with our homework. This morning, the teacher praised us for our work. We even won first place. Surprised, Benjamin looked at Arissa and asked, what homework? Paper cutting. Mommy's so good at it. And you complained it was childish. Gavin muttered before pursing his lips. Benjamin raised his brows in interest. Chapter 780. Zachary shared Jess's pride as he declared, we won first place today. All the other kids were so envious. His eyes positively sparkled as he spoke. Arissa shared Benjamin's surprise as she asked, all of you won first place? Yeah, the children nodded fervently. We won prizes too, Mommy. Jessie hurriedly grabbed her bag and took out the certificate she got from the teacher, along with a red flower and some sweets. Oh, sweethearts, you were all amazing. Thrilled, Arissa even planted a kiss on Jess's cheek. Gavin immediately credited Arissa for their win. Mommy's the amazing one. Everyone in the class was blown away when they saw our artwork, not just the teacher. He really enjoyed the feeling of being praised by their teacher in public. That was also the first time Tim had been praised by a teacher, and he was naturally excited. Zachary, Oliver, and Jasper could not help but become infected by their two elder brothers' joy. Of course, Jessie was the happiest of all since all her brothers had given her their sweets. She announced, Mommy, I have so many sweets in my bag. Gavin and the others gave them to me. Arissa stroked her daughter's head tenderly and asked, if your brothers gave all their sweets to you, then won't they have none left for themselves? You shouldn't eat too many sweets too. Your teeth are developing. Then, she looked at her three youngest sons and chided them, didn't I tell you before? Why did you still give Jessie so many sweets? Jasper smiled cheekily and said, Mommy, we just gave Jessie the sweets to make Jessie happy. We didn't let Jessie eat them. Don't worry, Mommy, we've been keeping a close eye on Jessie, added Oliver with a smile. Jessie promised us that Jessie wouldn't eat them. Jessie nodded earnestly and said, I didn't eat any sweets, Mommy. Finally, Arissa smiled and reminded her, if you have any more sweets, your new teeth won't grow out. We'll take care of Jessie, Mommy. Gavin reassured his mother. Nodding, Arissa declared, all right. Jessie can't have too many, but 1 or 2 sweets once in a while is fine. Jessie cheered excitedly. Yay, I love you the most, Mommy. She even flung her arms around Arissa's neck and planted a bunch of kisses on her mother's face. Tim found his sister adorable and watched them with a smile. Their cringeworthy display even caused Benjamin's features to soften. Well, where is your homework now? He was curious to see the artwork that made his children so happy. Zachary informed him, they're in our school bags. The teacher wanted to display them on the classroom wall, but Gavin said no, so we brought them home. Confused, Benjamin asked Gavin gently, why didn't you let the teacher paste your artwork on the wall? His eldest son pursed his lips for a moment before explaining, Mommy helped us with that homework. Why should we paste it on the walls where it'll be taken down sooner or later? I want to paste them at home. Arissa was moved by how much Gavin cherished the artwork. She patted his head tenderly and asked, should we laminate it? After some thought, Gavin nodded and replied, yes. It won't become dirty if we laminate it. Arissa smiled and nodded. Okay, once we're home, I'll help you laminate the artwork. That way, you can still look at it even when you're older. Despite his silence, Tim's happiness was palpable in his eye smile. The 4 youngest children clapped in agreement. To further encourage the children, Orissa added, "Let's laminate your certificates too. We'll see who has the most certificates next time." Okay. The children's excitement had reached a feverish pitch. Benjamin stared at them before asking Orissa, "Where should we paste the artwork?" "I can arrange for Edwin to clear out the necessary space." She returned his stare and suggested, "It's our children's pride, so let's display it in the most eye-catching place in the house." "Sounds good." Benjamin mulled over her suggestion and offered, "What about the living room?" Orissa's lips twitched in amusement. "There are plenty of eye-catching spots in that massive house. We don't have to paste it right smack in the living room." Diplomatically, she suggested, "Why don't we paste it along the stairwell? On the walls leading to your study." She thought it was better to keep the atmosphere in the living room formal. After all, they used that space to entertain all manners of guests. The children's artwork was better left to their families' eyes only.